When was the last time that you and your partner had real sex? Not like technically we did it sex, not going through the motion sex. I mean sex. When is the last time that you were both super present and open and you wanted each other and you were like really, really there? If you had to think about it, then this video is for you. Because most dead bedroom advice fails for one simple reason. It treats every sexless relationship like it has the same problem. I talked about this recently in an interview that I did with Forbes magazine, and the point that I kept coming back to is this. Advice like schedule sex, spice things up, communicate more. These tips aren't wrong necessarily, but they're often aimed at the wrong thing because there are three distinct types of dead bedrooms: physical, emotional, and erotic. Identical from the outside, but they're all very different, and so they need completely different solutions. So today, I'm going to help you figure out which type you're actually in, what caused it, and what your first move should be if you want desire to come back to life. Before we get into the three types, let's define what we're actually talking about. The term sexless marriage gets thrown around a lot, and while there's no official definition, one of the most commonly cited benchmarks is having sex fewer than 10 times per year. Personally, I think the best measure is this. If one or both of you feels chronically unsatisfied with the amount or quality of physical intimacy in your relationship, that's worth looking at because it's your sex life. Someone else's number shouldn't dictate whether it's dead or alive. Instead of obsessing over the number of times per year you're having sex, I want you to ask a way better question, which is what type of a dead bedroom are we actually dealing with? Dead bedroom number one, physical and or medical. This is the one that most people want to rule out first because it feels concrete. That is the right instinct. Because if your body is asking for support, then no amount of scented candles or date nights or just communicate more advice is going to ever solve the real issue. I worked with a client a few years ago, a guy who was in his mid-40s. He loved his wife. He had a great relationship, but he could not figure out what was preventing him from wanting to have sex with her. Like, he wanted to have sex with her, but he just felt like there was no libido there. There was nothing that he could do. They had tried date nights and they had tried spicing things up, and she had been wearing lingerie, but nothing worked. And he was starting to feel like nothing he did was ever enough, and she felt that he didn't want her anymore. When we did a history of what actually happened and we put all the pieces into place, it turned out that he had started taking a new medication a few months prior, and no one had warned him that the medication that he was on can affect libido and erections and arousal and orgasm. And so he felt like he was less of a man and that he was just like getting older and this was a part of it. And his wife thought that he'd lost interest in her or maybe was even having an affair, and the relationship was slowly coming apart at the seams over a medication that had side effects that if his doctor had just mentioned could have all been avoided. So you can see how type 1 doesn't necessarily look like any one particular thing. It can be a lot of things. You can see how it might not be a medication, but instead like sleep deprivation. A poor sleep can disrupt your energy and your mood and your stress regulation and your desire. It can contribute to lower testosterone. A lot of couples that have younger children or do shift work or have demanding jobs or are just trying to manage the general chaos of adult life run on fumes, and sometimes it's really hard to access desire when your nervous system is constantly stuck in survival mode because you're not getting to rest and reset. Hormonal shifts are also another contributor to type 1 dead bedrooms. Testosterone does typically decline with age, and for some men that can affect libido and erections and energy and mood and motivation. And women going through perimenopause or menopause may experience dryness and discomfort, lower desire, even pain with sex. But none of this means that desire is gone permanently. It means that desire needs different conditions. It needs for the body to receive more support in order for it to show up. Let me share with you a non-generic, a specific tip for all type 1 dead bedrooms. Stop trying to fix desire with desire. If the cause is physical, then no amount of novelty or romance is going to override it. The move here is for you both to do an audit of your health. Get your hormones tested. Review the medications that you're on with your doctor. Look at sleep quality, alcohol intake, nutrition, lifestyle, stress levels. Talk about it like the physiological issue that it is. And just to be clear, don't stop or change any medication without first speaking to your doctor. And of course, if you experience changes in libido or erection sensations, pain, numbness, or sudden shifts in your body that are persistent or distressing, please get qualified medical support. If that all sounds overwhelming, just know that it does not have to be. And this is one of the reasons that I partner with Merrick Health. Merrick is not your standard doctor's office, and it's not trying to be. They are a health optimization service for people who want to go deeper than that basic annual physical and the 5 minutes, your labs are normal conversation. They use comprehensive diagnostic testing, personalized health coaching, and medical oversight by trained healthcare providers in order to help you understand what's actually going on under the hood. Hormones, thyroid, metabolism, cardiovascular health, recovery, lifestyle, other factors that affect energy and mood and performance, and yes, desire. And this is personal for me because I've had a great experience using Merrick to rebalance my own hormones. After years of not understanding what was going on in my body, they were able to sort it out in really just 2 appointments, if I'm honest. If you're in a relationship where the love is there, but your body is not cooperating, don't keep guessing. Guessing is expensive. Get data, get support, and figure out whether there's something physical that needs attention. If you want to check them out, I put the link in the description, and you can use code CaitlinV for a special discount. But sometimes the body isn't the main issue. Sometimes the relationship itself no longer feels safe enough for desire to come forward. And that brings me to type 2, emotional and relational. This is probably the hardest one to admit because it requires looking at the relationship itself. Sex requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires safety. And when something in the relationship has eroded that safety, even a little subtle thing, not a dramatic betrayal, desire can shut down as a protective response. Now, this is not usually a conscious choice. It's just that it's hard to open into arousal when your body feels like it has to defend itself on a subconscious level. I had a couple come to me once who were at a complete loss, looked fine, like there was no huge fights or big betrayal or infidelity or crisis or anything. Over the last year before they applied for coaching, sex had become extremely sporadic. And when I started working with them, what emerged was a pattern of really small, unrepaired moments. These were times when she felt dismissed, or times when he felt criticized or unwanted, or like he couldn't get it right. It was not dramatic. It was not big screaming matches or betrayal. It was just a slow accumulation of moments where safety had quietly left the room. And this is what resentment looks like most of the time. It's not rage. It's kind of a low-level guardedness or armoring that makes the idea of being fully open with someone else feel impossible. And that is why, by the way, people find it easier to start an emotional affair with someone at the office who meets them today, because there's no backlog of hurt to overcome. Someone can just see you fresh today. There's nothing from the past. This is why you have to go back and clean those things up from the past. So here's my advice to you if you think that you're in a type 2 sexless marriage. Stop trying to address the sex before you address what's underneath it. Again, go to the cause, not the symptom. Most couples skip straight to, how do we fix our sex life? And of course, that conversation makes things worse because now there's performance pressure on top of an already fragile foundation. So begin one layer back, not why don't we have sex anymore, but instead, I don't want to pressure you about sex, but I want to understand if there's anything between us that has made closeness feel difficult. That is a very different conversation. That says, I'm not trying to extract sex from you. I'm trying to understand what happened to us. Ask your partner, ask yourself, what has been left unsaid? Is there a moment from the last 6 months that left a mark and never got properly acknowledged? What about the last 6 years? Resentment lives in the unrepaired. Resentment is like a little spot of mold that you didn't clean up right away because it was kind of difficult and you didn't want to get the ladder out, and now it's spread across the whole bathroom ceiling. Start at the beginning, start where it lives, get it clean, and then keep it clean. Every time a spot comes up between you, make sure that you manage it. And if you're in this category, trust that it does not mean that your relationship is over. In my experience, couples who get honest about their type 2 dynamics often come out of coaching with more intimacy than they had when they started at the beginning of their relationship. Sometimes desire isn't gone, it's just guarded and it needs safety so that it can come back again. Which brings me to type 3, erotic and novelty collapse. Now, this one tends to be the most fixable, and that is why almost all of the generic dad bedroom advice is aimed at it. But that's also why it's so frustrating when that advice doesn't work for types 1 and 2. Here's how to know if you're in type 3. The relationship is solid. You like each other. Nobody's resentful. Everyone is physically well, but sex has become routine, predictable, and efficient, and boring. It's something that happens on like Saturday evening because that's habit and that's what you have always done, and not because anyone has desire, and not because you're consciously scheduling it. I like to call this IKEA sex. This is sex that you have like you're building IKEA furniture. You know exactly what the steps are. There's nothing technically wrong with it, but nobody's excited to do it. You see, what's happening underneath this is what I call erotic novelty collapse. The relationship can be stable and loving and good, but the erotic charge has been flattened by repetition. Novelty activates the brain's reward system. It gives you anticipation and curiosity and that little bit of like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? When sex becomes completely predictable, whether that's the same time, same place, same moves, same outcome, the brain may understandably stop registering it as exciting. This is not a failure, that's just a part of what happens when something becomes familiar. But we tend to compare our long-term relationships and the kind of effort and maintenance that have to go into them with the new relationships, and that's not fair. Long-term relationships require intentional investment in novelty in a way that new relationships just don't, because new relationships create novelty automatically because everything is new. Here's my tip for you if you are in a type 3 relationship. I want to be specific because I'm not going to say just try something new. That's not the kind of advice that I want to give. But research on desire in long-term couples suggests that one of the things that can reactivate erotic energy isn't necessarily more dramatic sex. It's actually self-expansion. Novel experiences that make both people feel like they're growing individually or together. If you've been following me for a while, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you haven't been, please take a second to make sure that you're subscribed. You would know I believe that sexual energy is life force energy. So if your sex life feels flat, the answer is not to just force more sex. The answer is to bring more aliveness back into your life. Start with one small shift that sits outside of your usual routine. A new environment, a new kind of date, a new conversation, a new way of touching, a new way of seducing, or even just bringing a new part of yourself back into the relationship. Sometimes the part of you that needs to come back online is exactly the part that your seduction blind spot has been hiding. One client of mine and his partner started taking turns planning a surprise date once a month. The only rule was that neither person could suggest something that they'd already done before. And within 3 months, just 6 dates, their sex life had transformed. Not because of the dates themselves, although certainly coming home after doing some new stuff together was erotically exciting, but it was more about how they saw each other. I've also worked with plenty of couples who I instructed to take on new hobbies individually. Just coming home with something new to talk about that was enough for them to discover fresh parts of themselves and each other. The other thing that's worth noting in type 3 is polarity. Long-term relationships, especially ones where you live together and your lives are really intermingled, can flatten the dynamic between you. You are teammates and logistical partners and co-parents and co-managers of the house, and that is beautiful. But often a little mystery, a little distance, a little bit of like, oh, there you are. Between two people is exactly what you need in order to rekindle a spark. Getting back to feeling your distinctness through your own passions, your own presence, your own sense of self. This can be some of the most powerful erotic work that a couple will ever do. Here's the big question. Which one of these 3 feels the most true for you and for your relationship right now? Not which one is easiest to admit, which one helps you feel like your partner is the problem, but which one feels the most true. Is it a body issue, a safety issue, or a novelty and aliveness issue? If it's type 1, start with the body. Book that appointment, review your medications, look at your hormones, your sleep, your stress, and if you want support doing something deeper than just the standard annual physical exam can provide, that is exactly why I recommend Merrick Health. If it's type 2, start with safety. Create a structure and a process for having honest conversations. Become safe to speak and safe to listen. And don't just have conversations about sex. Have conversations about everything that has been left unsaid. Remember, you don't have to solve everything at once. Just name one thing that has been sitting on your mind and begin to go building safety and improving the relationship from there. Type 3, start with aliveness. Each of you take on something new and interesting outside of the bedroom, a hobby, a class, challenge, creative project, something that wakes up a part of you that has gone quiet. Then together, choose something that you can experiment with inside or outside of the bedroom. Again, it doesn't have to be penetrative related. It could be doing the 3-minute game, doing new touch exercises. It just needs to be something that neither of you has done before. Keep it specific, make it very low pressure. Agree in advance that the goal is just novelty, not performance. Now that you have a sense of which type of dead bedroom you might be in, I want you to take it one step deeper, because the type tells you which system needs attention, but your seduction blind spot tells you what pattern you are bringing into the system. Two men can both find themselves in a type 2 dead bedroom, but need completely different next steps in order to get out of it. One man might overthink every move until desire feels like a test, whereas another is trying so hard to please his partner that he himself disappears. Another man may shut down and find himself behind a wall, and another man finds that he has just let romance get rusty because life got too loud. And that is why I made a free quiz. It's called What's Your Seduction Blind Spot? It takes 2 minutes and it gives you one of 4 results: the overthinker, the pleaser, the fortress, and the rusty romantic. Each one points to a different pattern that might be keeping desire stuck in your relationship and a different way to begin changing it. Go to the link in the description and find out for sure. It's free and it's fun, and it will honestly take 2 minutes of your time. You are not the first person to have this challenge, and you won't be the first person to solve it. The advice, the information, and everything that you need is available. Start with the quiz. I can't wait for you to get your results. I'm Caitlin B. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, and I will see you here next week. Bye.